So you describe your 5-step method, and maybe you could just cover it briefly here in the just enough to whet people's appetite, I think, because uh, really that's the heart of the book, and you go into great detail on each of those 5 steps and some of the steps within the steps. So as much as you wish to put out, this is your chance.
Yes, well, I remember someone recently who, a guy called Robert, who is got divorced and is back in the dating world. And he noticed that it went all right, but he didn't really find or connect it in a great way with a potential partner. So he came to me and he said, I wanna work on this. And then so that is really step one, to identify that you have a living challenge or problem. So sometimes it is something we are aware of, something we try to push away, but you are aware that there is a challenge in your life that you would love to have some support and guidance for. Then we looked at it a little closer and figured out what is it that you really want to know. And so Robert said, what I really want to know is, of course, how can I find a partner? But he said, I think that what would be even more helpful for me to figure out is what is my biggest obstacle in finding a partner? And so that was his question, and that is step two. You have to phrase the question in a clear and a concise way. So he said, Dream, I would like to know the biggest obstacle in my dating life. And then step three is you create a ritual. And with a ritual, I really mean some form of dedicated focus, attention, and communication to your dream, that this is something you really like to know and that you would really love to have an answer for. And you create almost as if it's a bit of pressure in an alchemical vessel, then that will produce more likely an helpful dream. So you can do that by he made a drawing of a heart, and but I've seen a painter put an empty canvas next to his bed. You can walk outside and find some stone or object that represents your question. But you spend some time on the ritual. And then in the old days, people would spend a lot of time on that ritual. So that ritual component is one of the more important aspects that triggers an helpful response.
Yeah. And part of the idea, I guess, is to communicate to your unconscious or wherever dreams come from, is I'm serious about this. I'm earnest
Yeah.
enough to put some extra thought and process into facilitating this to happen.
Right. That is exactly it.
Yeah.
And if the dream somehow feels there's a heartfelt intention and there's I didn't just write down the question and say, hey, dream, give me the answer, but treat it like an valued relationship with a inner counselor or inner guide. And then step four is you have to sleep, and you want to dream, and then really step five is so important. Write down the dream upon waking, because dreams have a tendency to evaporate.
Yes,
And
they do.
then, and that has to do with, as you know, with the short-term memory goes offline at night.
Yeah.
We forget dreams, so it's not willpower or intelligence. We all need to write it down and then work on it. And some dreams are really simple and clear, and surprisingly straightforward. Other dreams are more complex, and they require a bit of puzzling and working with, and carry it throughout the day and share it maybe with other people. And I also wrote out a suggestion on how to work with a dream that doesn't require so much a huge knowledge of symbol systems, but more looks at the structure of the dream that you then read against your question. And so the 5 steps are: identify that you have an issue, write a great question, simple and concise, do rituals, sleep and dream, write down the dream, and work on your dream answer. And that's the process.
One of the things I was intrigued to discover there was also the value of writing, not only write down the dream, but maybe the night before, write down what the dream question is that you're putting out there, that you're incubating. And I was intrigued by that because you say that quite often you find that people would wake up the next morning, they'd have a dream, but they couldn't remember what the question was.
Yeah, I've seen it, and also sometimes, like with Robert and his quest for finding his answer to what his biggest blockage was in dating life. Sometimes you forget is what is the biggest blockage, or how do I overcome my blockage, and then then you get different answers because the dream does answer your question, and if you don't know what or why questions, just give different answers.
Yeah,
And I can share quickly the response of Robert's dream.
yeah,
And so he has the dream the next day that he says, I'm in a tunnel driving my car. And a little bit further, I think I see a mountain lion. When I come closer, I see it's a tiger. I get really scared. And so I start backing out and driving back. So he wrote that down. And then he looked at what is the structure in this dream. And so you don't need to know exactly what is tied, but he said just close to the experience. I drive in a tunnel that gives a certain particular way of being, and I see a tiger, something that is scary. And when I see something that is scary, I back out. And then he thinks, where in my dating life do I
right.
encounter something that I feel scary? Is that intimacy or a beautiful person or anything I find scary that I back out? And once you become aware of that, you do that tendency, you start creating opportunities to change your habitual behavior pattern to that anxiety.